The dash and the colon. Let's break this sucker down. All right, the dash and the colon, whenever you see it in the exams, whether it's SAT or ACT, they cannot change the rules between the two tests. So these are pretty easy. But if you're unfamiliar with them, maybe you got rusty and dusty, well, welcome to the party. Oh, and speaking of parties, the first sentence. The party was full of jumpy, comma, energetic, in a good way guests. This stuff that they're showing you right here, these type of hyphens or these dashes, you're not going to be tested on in the exam. However, taking a look at the sentence, what I do want to point out, I might as well just point it out, is this comma right here. How is that comma being used? Now, what is this in a good way, energetic in a good way guess? Take a look at it. Energetic in a good way guess. What kind of guess are we talking about? Energetic in a good way. So all those words, energetic in a good way, is describing the guess. But what else is also describing the guess? The word jumpy. But you have that comma. Well, can you say they're jumpy guess? Yep. But can you describe energetic in a good way as jumpy? Can I say, oh man, that's jumpy, energetic in a good way? No, so that comma is being used as the word and. Now, if I were to re-say the sentence, the party was full of jumpy and energetic in a good way guess, boom. So there you go. Whenever you see that comma, I know this isn't part of colon or hyphen rules, but I'm just pointing out an extra set of rules when it relates to comma rules. Be very careful. These guys like to mess with you. Now, again, sentences 1, 2, 3, they're not going to be testing these dashes that are in between words. But if you do see them, don't panic. Even if it's part of an underlined portion that needs to be answered, you're not being tested on that. All right, let's go to what is being tested. Check out this sentence number 1. The recipe requires the following ingredients. I could put a period right there if I wanted to, but the author decided to put a colon. And what comes after a colon? Whatever that was described that came before the colon. So flour, sugar, and eggs is directly related to the ingredients. Same with sentence number 2. He excels in many sports. I could have put a period right there and said, oh, he excels in basketball, he excels in soccer, and he excels in swimming. But instead, I could just create a list separated by commas as it relates to what came before the colon. Same thing with sentence number 3. There's one thing she values most. Oh, I could just use one word after a colon. Yes, because you're telling me, what does she value most? It comes right after the colon, bang, bang, and done. If you read the rest of the other sentences, just take you about a minute to 2, you'll see how all of these are being used. It's really cool that when you start fooling around with these, you realize the basic rules of colons are just to provide additional information as it relates to what came immediately before the colon. They can be a list of items. They could be an explanation also. So I haven't shown you those, but remember, everything that comes after a colon, if it is true, has to directly relate to what came before the colon. Let's take a look at the next group. We're going to deal with some hyphens. Now, the colon and the hyphen, remember, everything that comes after a colon is directly related to what comes before the colon, but the same thing applies to dashes or hyphens. Check out this sentence. She couldn't remember where she left her keys. Then you have the hyphen. Perhaps they were on the kitchen counter. Now, people will say, well, those are 2 sentences. But if the author decides that it's directly related to what came before, you can certainly use that hyphen to separate the information. But they are directly related to one another. Whatever comes after that hyphen is directly related to what comes before the hyphen. The next sentence, the meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Cool. And then check this out. You see a comma and a but. When we see that, we know we're dealing with fanboys. So there must be a complete second sentence. Is there? It started late due to technical difficulties. Yup, 2 complete sentences. So now they're combining fanboys, comma, and a but, separating 2 complete sentences, but still using a beautiful hyphen. For what? Typical for this company. What is typical for this company? Whoop, 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 whoop. Starting late due to technical difficulties. Da da da. Get it? Whatever comes after the hyphen is directly related to what comes before. It's additional information. Now, is it a complete sentence? Typical for this company? No. The previous sentence. Perhaps they were on the kitchen counter. Sounds like a complete sentence. We could probably label it as such, but again, the author decided to use it as a hyphen to directly relate it to what came before. Take a look at the next sentence. He was always punctual. And then you have that hyphen, except on Mondays when traffic was particularly bad. Now, all of that is directly related to what came before. Yes, punctual, except on Mondays, yes, they're directly related, so that hyphen does work. Now, if you take a look at the rest, you're going to see different ways that the hyphens are being used for lists. But remember, everything that comes after the hyphen is directly related to what comes before the hyphen. It could be an explanation, a definition, it could be a list of items, or they could be short explanations, even sentences. So as you continue doing homework assignments, you're going to start to see, especially with the ACT, how they like to use the hyphen. Let's say, for example, in sentence number 9, they like to use the hyphen, and they'll use short phrases coming after the hyphen, and they could be complete sentences. Here's an example of little short phrases. We have saving money, researching destinations, and booking accommodations. So all that stuff, if I didn't read the first sentence, I have to say, well, that stuff must be related to doing things, certain things. What is it? What came before it? They had been planning the trip for months. Oh, and the plans were saving money, researching destinations, and booking accommodations. Now, this is what I want to point out also. At the end of the sentence, the main sentence, you got that hyphen. Everything that comes after it should follow a parallel form. You see that you got saving, researching, and booking. These are just like basic recipes of grammar that cannot be broken by the SATs or the ACTs. Now, if we take a look at the next sentence, number 10, the storm was intense. Oh, I could put a period right there if I wanted to, but the author decided, no, I'm not putting a period. I'm going to give you some additional information in hyphen form. Thunder rumbling, lightning flashing, and rain pouring. Do you see the parallelism? Yep, you got rumbling, flashing, and pouring. But what particular is doing all that stuff? Well, you got the rain, the lightning, and the thunder. Then check it out. You got another hyphen. Let me highlight the hyphen in red. You got this hyphen and that hyphen. All that information, when you have hyphen to hyphen in the middle of a sentence, that's unnecessary information. We could take it out. If it's at the end of the sentence, we can still take it out and just keep the main sentence, which is the storm was intense. But check this out. Right after the pouring, you have, but it eventually passed, leaving behind a sense of calm. They're mixing several comma rules, unnecessary information at the end of the main sentence, and fanboys. Notice you have that big but right there, but there's no comma before it. You're not going to put a comma after a hyphen. That doesn't make sense. So you save that. You don't want to fill up your sentences with too many bits of punctuation. But that hyphen to hyphen, right? I could change it. Remember we talked about this in class? I don't have to use hyphens. I can use parenthesis to parenthesis. What else can I use besides hyphen to hyphen, parenthesis to parenthesis? I can also use comma to separate all that information. But ultimately, all that information, when it's in the middle of the sentence, is unnecessary, and therefore I could just get rid of it all. And then you see that the main sentence is right here. If I had to fix it and say, let me get rid of all that unnecessary information, the storm was intense. Excellent. And then what? But it eventually passed, leaving behind a sense of calm, comma, with your fanboy but, and you're all hooked up and ready to go. But I'm pointing this out because I want you to see how the SATs and ACTs, they can mix rules together and try to confuse you. And Lord knows, I don't want you confused. I want you owning these tests. Let me see the next page real quick. Oh, here's some additional stuff. You guys can take a look at it. These are other examples of unnecessary information in the middle of the sentence, at the end of the sentence, using hyphens. Notice here, I could use parenthesis to parenthesis or comma to comma there. Here, I could use comma to comma, parenthesis to parenthesis. Here, yeah, you see it. It's repeating again and again, but everything that's there is directly related to what came before. Everything that's here is directly related to what came before. So when you get this document for your homework, you can read through this. There's nothing to memorize. It's only for you to get familiar. And that's pretty much it. So ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you later. Peace out.